Toyota once dominated the Australian car market. In fact, they still do, but their market share has, well, contracted enormously. Year to date, it's fallen from 23% to 15%. Put it this way, in the month of May, when Toyota sold exactly 0 electric cars in Australia, it was disrupted by Tesla, I think, in a big way. How so? Well, Toyota's sales fell by 19% versus May of last year, but May of this year was the best May of any year in Australian automotive history. So whilst Australia had this incredible month for car sales here, the Japanese brands got left behind, most of them. Honda sales were down 43%, and that's a trend for Honda. Their sales this year, they've sold actually less cars in Australia than Tesla, which is incredible. If you said that was going to happen a few years ago, people would think you are absolutely mad. Suzuki's sales were down 24%. Mitsubishi sales were down an incredible 25%. Toyota down 20%, and Subaru down only 2%. But this is a car market where everyone were winners. Pretty much everyone won, except for those companies. Tesla, on the other hand, their sales increased by nearly 1,000% versus last year. The month of May was the best month in a history for EVs in Australia in terms of the total sold. It broke a record. It was amazing. But the thing is here, this is something that a lot of Australians don't want to admit. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I just have to call it as I see it. This is very factual, by the way. Without Tesla and BYD, EV sales in Australia would be virtually non-existent. EV sales from every single company combined, if you don't include Tesla and BYD, are so minuscule in this country that I feel like their companies selling them are getting completely unfair praise. Hyundai, Kia, MG, I've got to call it, it's true, Mercedes, BMW, put all their EV sales together and they represent a minuscule percentage of car sales. In fact, around 1% of all cars sold in Australia this year. Tesla and BYD, on the other hand, are actually taking electric car deliveries seriously in Australia. And we have to give them kudos and credit for doing that. One really exciting thing happened. The Tesla Model 3 beat the Toyota Camry again for the 5th month in a row in Australia. And the Tesla Model Y also handily beat the Toyota RAV4. This change is interesting, and it does suggest the future of electric cars, or the future of the automotive industry in Australia, is changing. We've just seen in Australia some pretty interesting news here with electric car sales. May was the best month ever for Australian car sales in the month of May. But most of the media just ignored what is going on here, and that is that the Tesla Model 3 is smashing the sales charts. It's smashing Toyota, so is the Model Y. However, if you look at the top 10 best-selling cars in Australia, something really interesting is happening. There's been a takeover. The media is trying to pretend it's not happening. In Australia, there's 0 media articles about this fact, as in literally 0 from the mainstream media. I've looked it up, I've Googled it, there's nothing. Very interesting to see this happening, and the media just try to pretend it's not happening. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. It's great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Best-selling cars in May 2023. Toyota Hilux was first. It's always pickup trucks here in Australia. Second was the Ford Ranger. Third was the Tesla Model Y. Fourth was the Toyota RAV4. And fifth was the MG ZS. So May was really the first month of the year where Tesla have shipped a large number of Model Ys to Australia. First month, strange that it's taken Tesla so long, but apparently there's more boats on their way that are sitting apparently in the dock right now waiting to be unloaded with a whole bunch, way more Tesla Model Ys than what have been delivered in May. So it's really interesting to see these sales numbers, because if you look at the first 5 months of the year for Australia, incredibly, the Tesla Model 3 has nearly outsold the Toyota RAV4. I mean, the RAV4 is historically one of the best-selling cars in the world, one of the top 3 best-selling cars in the world. Same thing in Australia. However, there's 3 pickup trucks at the top of the listings here, right? 3 pickup trucks. But Tesla has nearly even sold the 3rd place Isuzu D-Max. So the 3rd place, the 3rd best-selling car in Australia, has had 10,740 deliveries. It's a pickup trucks, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But Tesla's only 600 sales behind, with the old Tesla Model 3. All the buyers, pretty much all buyers buying a Tesla Model 3 right now know that it's about to be superseded with a brand new model. Imagine if these pickup trucks, imagine if all three of them, the Hilux, the Ranger, and the D-Max, imagine if everyone knew they were buying the old version right when the new version was about to come out. Pretty sure those sales would be a little bit lower. But Tesla Model 3, 10,117 deliveries, RAV4, 10,665, and Isuzu D-Max, 10,743. So Tesla is nearly outselling some of the most popular vehicles in Australia with a vehicle that pretty much everyone knows is about to be superseded. Tesla Model Y, though, is actually even more interesting because of the top 10 best-selling cars in Australia from January to May. So we're looking at a 5-month period. The 10th best-selling car, the Hyundai Tucson, delivered 8,000 vehicles. But in Tesla's first real proper month of delivering the Model Y in Australia, they delivered already more than 3,000. What this means is, by the end of this year, there's a very, very high probability that the Tesla Model Y will become the 3rd best-selling vehicle in Australia and the Model 3 will be 4th or 5th. Imagine that. What a change in Australia. I mean, we're a country that doesn't really buy EVs. Of the cars we sold last year, only 2% were electric. 2%. I mean, this year we're already up at 7%. That's an enormous difference. Absolutely astronomical difference. So versus May of last year, Tesla sales have increased 998%. In fact, in the month of May, if Tesla had sold only 400 more vehicles in Australia, it would have been the 5th best-selling manufacturer in the country. But I haven't mentioned all the EVs yet. You've got Tesla in 3rd place with the Model Y. Then you've got BYD in 13th place with the Atto 3. And then, of course, the Model 3 still had a pretty good month. It was in 19th place with 1,400 deliveries. So far this year, there is essentially 2 car brands that are Chinese, basically, if you break it down, that are in the top 10 biggest selling manufacturers in Australia. MG is in 7th place and Tesla is in 8th place. So Tesla has sold 18,560 vehicles in Australia so far this year. To give you some context, last year Tesla sold 4,481. So it's gone from 4,481, 18,559. It's selling more than 4 times as many cars so far this year, with one model that's about to be superseded and another model that'll be superseded within about, 9 months maximum. The Model Y Juniper project, I mean, there's almost a certainty that that'll be out by between January to March of next year. Well, most buyers know this, but they're still willing to accept the vehicle as it is. Another exciting fact here is that the Tesla Model Y is the best-selling SUV in Australia. And this was a record-breaking electric vehicle month period as well. Electric car sales actually hit a record monthly total of 8,124. Which represented nearly 8%. Nearly 8%. What a massive difference versus last year that is. Absolutely insane. That's nearly 4 times as many electric cars have been delivered over the first 5 months this year versus the first 5 months last year. I mean, put this in context. If this happens again next year, we go from 2% to 7.7%. What are we looking at then? We're looking at 3 times more. We'd be looking at probably around about 25% of all cars in Australia next year would be electric. Am I saying that will happen? Probably not, but you never know. We do have a whole lot of Chinese EV manufacturers that are very keen and eager to sell their cars in Australia where they can actually make a profit selling their EVs. They're not really making much profit in China. It doesn't matter what kind of car you sell right now. It's a bloodbath. There's millions of cars just sitting around gaining dust, internal combustion engine primarily. But yeah, you see my point here. It's a very difficult market to make money in. Australia is not. You can make money in Australia pretty easily selling cars at a significant premium. That's what the Chinese are planning to do. They're going to flood the Australian car market with affordably priced EVs. They may not be doing it right now because they don't have to. But you can sell EVs in Australia right now at a fairly premium price and still do really well. But what will happen is within the probably next 24 months, you're going to see a whole bunch of Chinese electric vehicles coming to Australia. They'll be affordable. They'll start taking market share from these legacy automakers, and we'll start seeing a much higher percentage of vehicles being sold in Australia that are electric. So far this year, Australia has seen 30,050 electric vehicle sales. 30,050. That's 7%. over the first 5 months of the year. Of those 30,050, 18,560 were Teslas. That's ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous is Tesla has nearly sold more cars in the first 5 months of this year versus what it sold in the entire 12 months of last year. Last year, it sold 19,600 cars in Australia, pretty much all Tesla Model 3s. This year, it's already sold 18,560. So what does that mean this year for Tesla? Well, Tesla will sell at least twice as many cars this year in Australia versus last year. It's doing the same thing, in fact, in many European countries. It's doing the same thing in, well, many places around the world. I think people quite realize Tesla's growth this year has been very, very significant in comparison to last year. No one's really talking about it, but it is actually the second fastest growing big car company in the world right now. Second to who? BYD. Speaking of BYD had its best sales month yet with 1,448 deliveries of the Atto 3. That brings its year-to-date total to 4,664. But BYD is on the precipice here because they're about to bring more electric cars to Australia. You've got the Dolphin coming within the next 4 to 5 months. Then you've got other cars. Apparently there's going to be a bigger electric SUV. I think the Sea Lion is coming as well. That probably won't be here till the end of the year, maybe the start of next year. But also BYD are bringing in the Seal. The Seal is a new sedan, electric sedan that will compete directly with the Tesla Model 3. I think it'll be a little bit cheaper than a Model 3. That'll bring quite a few buyers. And obviously buyers, people that don't like Tesla for, political reasons. There's a lot of people in that boat right now. They're probably waiting for the Seal. In fact, I've seen on the forums, the BYD pages on Facebook, etc., that there are a lot of people who want the BYD Seal in Australia. Here are the 10 best-selling EVs in May in Australia. Number 1, Model Y, 3,178. In number 2, the Atto 3, 1,448. Number 3, the Model 3 with 1,300. Number 4, the MG ZS EV with 276. A big drop-off between the Model 3 and the MG ZS EV. Then the Volvo XC40 is next with 266, followed by Polestar 2, 226. Volvo C40, 165, Mercedes-Benz EQA, 124, Kia EV6, 104, and the BMW iX with 86. So you can see here, basically without Tesla, and in particular without Tesla and BYD, EV sales in Australia would be non-existent, almost nothing. There'd be about 1% of Australian car sales. No one would even be talking about them. They'd be of so little interest. And that includes Volvo, that includes Mercedes, that includes Kia, that includes Hyundai. If we were relying on those companies, if we were relying on, well, obviously Japanese automakers, then there would be no EV sales in Australia, almost none. That'd be probably 0.1% of Australian car sales. But if we were relying on everyone except for Tesla and BYD, two new car companies, we wouldn't have any, we'd have almost no EV sales in Australia. So I've just got a message here. If you're one of those people in Australia who are really getting on this bandwagon of hating on either Tesla or BYD, I really think it's time to stop. We've got to support these companies because they're the only two companies taking electric cars seriously in Australia. Now, MG sales. Sorry, MG, I love the product, I love the brand, but they're not selling. I mean, come on. Where are they? Where's the cars? Bring them here. Get the sales happening. Let's see them happen. Until that point in time, we probably need to start critiquing these companies and start saying, what are you doing? Why are we seeing no sales? I mean, is it the fourth best-selling EV, 276. That's peanuts. There's nothing. The sales are nothing from these car companies in comparison. Like I said, without Tesla and BYD, that's basically nearly 90% of all EVs being sold in Australia. So I think maybe it's time we need to support these companies. Really, talk about them in a positive way. Get our friends to consider getting one instead of an internal combustion engine vehicle. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. And thank you for watching.